This is Josiah Plays Lone Wolf, Book 3, The Caverns of Kalte. Okay, so let's begin yet another exciting journey into the world of Lone Wolf with the third book of the series, the introduction to which reads thusly. You are Lone Wolf, last of the Kai lords. Shocking news has just reached your homeland that Vonotar the traitor still lives and now rules over the ice barbarians of Kalte. The king has vowed to your people that Vonotar will be brought to justice for his crimes, but it is a promise that only you can fulfill. In the Caverns of Kalte, you must brave the terrible dangers of the Ice Kingdom in your quest to capture your most hated foe. But be warned, it is a challenge that will test your skill and endurance to the very limit. This is Caverns of Kalte, Book 3 of Lone Wolf, and here's the cover. This was the original American publication of this book. I had this book with this exact cover. And there's Vonotar the traitor right there on the cover. Now, although he has different colored robes and hat than he had in the last book, that is the same guy that was on the cover of Book 2, Fire on the Water. The one that we faced on the giant Ghost Hulk ship who tried to fire some evil magic at us, and we had the Somber Sword and it deflected it, and then he ended up fleeing and we didn't get a chance to kill him. And he got away. Well, there he is again. He's changed up his colors. He's in white now instead of red. He's even changed the color of his staff, it looks like, a little bit. But still him. Still the guy. Vonotar the traitor. And he's in some kind of strange-looking cavern with odd flora on the walls, it looks like. I'm not sure what all is going on there with him, but it looks very mysterious. Very mystical. And very cold. And that is the adventure we're going to be having today. So, we've got some information about Joe Deaver. He was the author of these books, and Gary Chalk, the original illustrator. The music that you're hearing in the background throughout the entire video is by Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. There's a full link to his site and attribution for his work down in the description of the video. Some acknowledgements here. We're going to skip those because I want to. The story so far. In the northern land of Sommerland, it had been the custom for many centuries to send the children of the warrior lords to the monastery of Kai. There they were taught the skills and disciplines of their noble fathers. You are Lone Wolf, and you are now the last of the warrior lords of Sommerland. 1 year ago, the ancient enemy of your people, the Dark Lords of Helgadad, suddenly invaded Sommerland and completely devastated the Kai Monastery. All of the Kai warriors were in attendance for the Feast of Femarn, and all, except you, were massacred. You fought your way to Holmgard, the capital of your country, where the king sent you upon a desperate quest for help. Your mission was fraught with great danger, for Sommerland had been betrayed by one of its own magicians, Vonotar the traitor. His agents sought to kill you at every opportunity, but your skill and strength defeated their evil aims. You returned to Holmgard at the head of a great fleet, the allies of Durinor, and destroyed the Dark Lord army that besieged your capital. Much of Sommerland was ruined by the war. The rich farmlands were laid waste, and many towns were razed to the ground. But the Somlending are a tough people, and were undaunted by the enormous task that lay ahead. They set about the rebuilding of war-torn Sommerland with such determination that now, 1 year later, few of the scars of war remain visible. For the crucial part that you played in the victory, the king has bestowed upon you the rank and title of Friar of Sommerland, a rare honor for one so young. The ruins of the Kai Monastery and much of the surrounding lands are now Freiland under your protection. Work to rebuild the monastery was about to commence when disturbing news from the north prompted the king to summon you to the capital. Many merchants returning from the summer trading expeditions to Kalte told of the fall of the Brummelmark, the leader of the ice barbarians. The description of the hunchbacked magician who has succeeded the fierce Brummelmark fits only one man, Vonotar the traitor. After the defeat of the Dark Lords, Vonotar escaped to the frozen wastes of Kalte. He made his way to the ice fortress of Ikaya, where, through deception, he tricked the cruel Brummelmark into adopting him as his magician. It was a mistake that was to cost the barbarian leader his fortress and his life. The news that Vonotar still lives spreads like wildfire throughout Sommerland. Thousands of Somlending surround the capital and demand that Vonotar be made to pay for his treachery. So great is the outcry that the king is obliged to promise that the evil traitor will be brought back to Holmgard and made to stand trial for his crimes. For you, Lone Wolf, the king's promise is the start of a quest that will pitch you against a hated foe deep within the hostile Caverns of Kalte. Dun dun dun. So that's what this book is about. Going to the frozen wasteland to the north, chasing after Vonotar the traitor. Alright, the game rules have not changed from the previous books. It says we get to keep our old stuff, and we get to choose one bonus Kai discipline, in addition to the ones we already have. Here are the Kai disciplines, and I will read the new one we're taking now, which is Mind Over Matter. Mastery of this discipline enables a Kai Lord to move small objects with his powers of concentration. And I will check that box. Which means we now have 7 out of 10 of the Kai disciplines. The only ones we don't have are Mind Blast and Mind Shield and Weapon Skill. Not bad. We have all kinds of tricks we can do to aid us in our adventures. Mind Over Matter is essentially telekinesis. Equipment. Before leaving the northern port of Anscaven, you were escorted to the city hall and equipped with special winter boots, a tunic, a fur-lined cloak, and mittens. You were given a map of Kalte and a pouch of gold. Let's take a look at the map of Kalte. Here it is small, here it is larger. So, there's Anscaven down there. That's at the northern tip of Sommerland, where we're coming from. We're going to cross the Kalter Sea here and come up here to Luke Sound. There's Luke. That looks like the only actual city. Port up here. There's the ice shelf. Rock, Grim Island. Another ice shelf. Some mountains here. More mountains, more mountains. The Hrad Basin, the Viad Mountains, Viad Glacier, Cloudmaker Mountain, Storm Giant Pass, and there is Ikaya, the ice fortress. That is our ultimate goal. Some pictures over here. That's what Cloudmaker Mountain looks like. Kind of reminds me of the Matterhorn a little bit, but a little more curvy and pointy. Ikaya, the ice fortress, looks like that. You can barely even tell it's a fortress and not just a natural mountain. There's even a scale if we wanted to figure that out, but we don't. There's the map. To find out how much gold is in the pouch, pick a random number and add 10. We got 6, so 16. You can add this to any crowns you already possess, but we actually had 0 crowns left from the last adventure. So we now have 16. In addition, before you set sail, you're given the choice of the following items, in addition to those you already possess. You may take 2 of the following: a sword, a short sword. We don't need any weapons because we have the summer sword, and we have a mace and a dagger. A padded leather waistcoat. Now, we used to have a nice chainmail waistcoat, which gave us 4 endurance, but it doesn't look like there will be a chainmail available this time. We're going to take that padded leather waistcoat, though. Padded leather waistcoat. Plus 2 endurance. And do that right there. And we can take one more item. Unfortunately, there's no helmet or shield available, both of which we once had, but they were lost, they were stolen. Those would be nice things to have. So we could take a meal or a potion. We don't need meals, really, because we have hunting. Although it says you see how to use your equipment before deciding. So we go down here. This is all the same. This is all the same. This is all the same. Food. Stored on your ice sledge, along with your tent and other equipment, is enough food for you to complete your mission. If this food, or any you may have in your backpack, is unavailable to you when you're instructed to eat a meal, you will lose 3 endurance points. As Kalte is an icy desert, you will be unable to use the Kai discipline of hunting to obtain a meal. So, we do kind of need meals, but I don't really mind losing the 3 endurance, to be honest. I think I'll probably just take another one of these potions. Potion of Laumspur. This one heals 4 endurance. The other one we have there heals 5. That we got somewhere in the last journey. Alright, that's our 2 items that we're going to take. Rules for combat have not changed. Levels of Kai training, we are now a Guardian. Rank 7. Kai Wisdom, this pretty much says the same thing as in the other books. Your mission will be fraught with great danger, for Kalte is a bleak and hostile land and your foe is a master of cunning. The betrayal of your country can be avenged by bringing the traitor to justice. Alright, shall we begin? Let me take a quick sip of water. Alright. Entry number 1, let's do this, as we set off on our journey. Even before you accepted the task of bringing Vonotar to justice, preparations were being made for your voyage to Kalte. The captain of the Somlending warship, Cardinal, having returned from a long Kalter Sea patrol, was ordered to await your arrival at Anscaven. During the night, food, ice equipment, and canoe dog teams were taken on board. The mission was highly secret. Only senior members of the crew were told the true nature of the voyage that lay ahead. The plan is to set you ashore at Halley Bluff, drop anchor, and await your return. An elite team of trusted guides will lead you from the bluff to Ikaya. Once inside the ice fortress, you are to hunt down and capture Vonotar, and then return with your guides to the ship. Your mission must be accomplished within 30 days at most, for winter is closing in, and no ship can withstand the grip of the Kalte pack ice. If you do not return in time, the captain will be forced to set sail without you. For 6 days, the Cardinal sails across the stormy Kalter Sea without running into a storm, but every day the temperature steadily drops until a layer of ice covers the decks. On the morning of the 7th day, the snow-capped island of Tola is sighted on the horizon. Soon after, a light wind rises from the east. At first, there appears to be little danger, but within half an hour, a furious blizzard is blowing, and all sight of land quickly vanishes in the scudding drift. All day, the furious gale rages. Tremendous winds slice the tops of the huge gray waves, and water crashes over the decks, masts, and rigging of the ship, freezing almost immediately into solid ice. The sides of the ship become several feet thick with seawater. It is not until early evening that the weather clears, and although the wind still blows strongly, the force of the gale is spent. There's our ship in the waves. You are soon to discover that the gale has blown the ship nearly 30 miles off course, along the lip of the Luke ice shelf. You know that to return to Halley Bluff would waste a precious day, so you decide to land on the ice shelf and start your mission from there. As the last of the canoe dogs are carried ashore, your guides tell you of the 2 possible routes to Ikaya from here. The first route involves a 130-mile trek to Cloudmaker Mountain, and then, following the difficult terrain of the Viad Glacier, a further 100 miles must be covered before you arrive at the ice fortress. The alternative route involves a longer journey of nearly 180 miles into the Harad Basin, followed by a trek of 100 miles through Storm Giant Pass to Ikaya. Even if the weather and your luck hold good, either route will involve 10 days of hard trekking before you reach your goal. You should consult the map of Kalte before making your decision. Let's look at the map again. So, the first route involves, we're on the ice shelf, involves going up here to Cloudmaker Mountain and then zooming up the glacier the rest of the way. The other route involves going around the basin and around Storm Giant Pass and getting there that way and avoid the glacier. The glacier seems like it's going to be problems. I mean, if I was just alone and on foot, I might take the glacier route. And difficulty be damned, but since I've got sleds and dogs and guides and all that, it seems like just too much could go wrong going the glacier way. So we're going to take the Harad Basin and Storm Giant Pass route. Plus Storm Giant Pass sounds cool. So we will take the longer but easier Harad Basin and Storm Giant Pass route. You were to travel to Ikaya by sledge. 2 sledges have been loaded with enough food and equipment for the mission, each drawn by a team of 6 Kanu dogs. This sturdy breed is native to Kalte, and they make ideal sledge dogs. Their thick, tawny coats and powerful chests, as well as their renowned vigor and enthusiasm, make them well suited to the harsh work ahead. Your 3 guides, Irian, Fenor, and Dice, are all experienced trappers. They are skilled at survival in this icy desert, and have experienced its many unseen dangers. Once the dogs are in harness, you and Irian climb aboard your sledge and signal to the others to lead the way. Staring across the frozen expanse of the Luyuk ice shelf, you see the white glare of the Harad Basin edge. Ice blink, they call it, says Irian, his eyes glinting from deep inside the hood of his fur jacket. It's the reflection of the ice shelf. It looks no more than 4 miles away at most, but it's nearer 40 than 4. The air of Kalte can be very deceptive. The weather is bright and windless, and you make excellent progress on the first day. As darkness sets in, you decide to set up camp for the night. The sledges are drawn together, and the tent is erected in the salient away from the wind. I do have the Kai discipline of 6th sense, so I will use it. You get an uneasy feeling that someone or something is watching you. You leave the tent and peer into the night for some sign of life, but the snow and the darkness hide everything. Reluctantly, you return to the tent and go to sleep with one hand by your weapon in case of a surprise attack. We're being watched. Dun dun dun. When you awake, you sense that something has changed. It takes nearly a minute to realize that the incessant howling of the night winds has ceased. It's a beautiful morning, says Irian cheerfully, his head appearing through the tent flap. You quickly climb out of your sleeping furs and stare out over the icy landscape. The Kalte air is fresh and clear. You see a strong mirage in the distance that seems to throw the land up much higher than it could possibly be. We should make it to the rock by nightfall, says Fenor, as he busily pulls a reluctant Kanu dog into its harness. Best to make camp there tonight. The shelter is good. This far from the sea, a blizzard can whip across the shelf from nowhere in a few minutes. I've known trappers to be blown for miles if they're careless or unlucky enough to be caught out on the shelf with no cover. That day, the Kanu dogs pull strong and true, for the going is smooth across the ice shelf. By nightfall, you have reached the rock, a splinter of granite that has thrust through the ice shelf. Its curious shape reminds you of the King's Citadel in Holmgard. You make camp to the leeward side of the rock to avoid the worst of the night winds. And it's random number time. Do I get screwed or not? I got an 8. Let's see what that gets us. The next day is bitterly cold. A strong wind from the west blows relentlessly as you steer your sledge toward the Harad Basin. The snow clogs your eyes and your lips crack and bleed, but by midday, You reach the edge of the basin. Irian and Dice's sledge arrives at the ice wall first, and they eagerly encourage you onwards. Without any warning, a great crack appears between the two sledges, opening with a tremendous roar, until you are faced by a huge, dark crevasse. Frantically, you pull on the reins, but it is too late to prevent your Kanu dog team from disappearing into the void. Your sledge is left balancing on the edge of the crevasse, while the team of howling Kanu dogs dangle helplessly in their harnesses below you. Very carefully, you risk a glance into the chasm. You see that the first two dogs have broken free and dropped over 150 feet to a ledge below. One of them appears to be dead. The other is badly injured and whimpers beside the still body of its comrade. Suddenly, a shudder jolts the sledge and you gasp with fright. Crawl with Fëanor to the rear of the sledge, or decide to try to leap clear of the sledge onto the cracked ice. I feel like if I do this second thing, it's gonna doom Fëanor to his death or something, so I should probably crawl with him to the rear of the sledge. You gingerly inch your way back to the rear of the sledge, but you hear the cracking of ice as the crevasse opens wider and wider. "Jump!" shouts Fëanor as the sledge topples into the widening void. You steady yourself to try to leap to safety, but your left foot becomes entangled in the ropes and equipment. I could use the summer sword here. I could use mind over matter here. Or I get stuck with a random number roll. Well, let's use mind over matter, because that's our new ability that we just got. Let's see what it does. You are on the very brink of losing your concentration when the rope around your foot loosens and drops away. You dive from the sledge barely seconds before it crashes into the crevasse. The dreadful cries of the Kanu dogs can be heard as they plummet hundreds of feet into the darkness. Poor dogs. Quickly, Fëanor runs to your side and drags you away from the crumbling ice edge. You have lost your dog team, your sledge, and most of your food, but at least you are still alive. You and Fëanor jump the widening gap and join the rest of your party. After much discussion, the guides agree to continue with the mission, even though the hardships will now be doubly severe. In the distance, you see a narrow passage at the edge of the ice shelf where it meets the Harad Basin. By nightfall, you reach the shelter of this icy pass and camp there for the night. A quick check of your remaining food reveals the need to cut rations by half if all of you are to reach Ikaya. You lose 1 endurance point due to the poor evening meal. Moving on. And then I heal myself. The next morning arrives bright and windless. The sun pierces the thin layer of cloud, bathing the east in a soft pink glow. This beautiful vision reminds you that your Kai masters once told you that the light of Kalte is unlike anywhere else in Magnamund. With tent and equipment packed, you leave the pass and venture out onto the Harad Basin. 100 miles of open ice now lie between you and the Storm Giant Pass. At first, the journey is easy. The basin has been worn smooth by the wind and no crevasses lurk unseen beneath the hard, dense snow. But at dawn on the third day, events take a turn for the worse. You are awoken from a deep sleep by Dice, shaking your shoulder. He is frightened. "What's wrong?" you ask, still bleary-eyed and sleepy. "Ice barbarians on the horizon. 20, maybe more. 5 wind sledges and a warrior escort. I think they've seen us." In an instant, you have all climbed out of your sleeping furs and begun to pack away the tent. Dice is correct. They are ice barbarians, and they are heading towards you from the west. "If they catch us, we're good as dead," says Fëanor as he ties the last of the equipment to the sledge. The ice barbarians of Kalte are a fierce and warlike race of nomads. For thousands of years they have traveled this icy wasteland, trapping furs and herding mammoths. Their only contact with the rest of Magnamund is through the trading post of Liuk. In summer, when the coast around Liuk is free from ice, they journey there to trade their furs for weapons and tools, as there is no iron or wood in Kalte. They hate all except their own kind, and kill anyone they find who dares to trespass in their icy domain. You soon hear their war cries less than 3 miles distant, and for the first time since you landed, you pray for a blizzard to hide your escape. You have covered less than a mile when the first of the Ice Barbarian scouts appear to the north on skis. At first, there are only 2 of the fearsome warriors, but they are soon joined by 3 others. They are large, muscular, and bedecked with furs. Some of them wear bone armor. Despite their size, they glide across the snow with an almost feline grace and speed. Each of them has a pole attached to his back, from which a small flag flutters. Suddenly, a bone-tipped arrow whistles past your knee and embeds itself in the sledge. An Ice Barbarian scout skis past to your right. He is less than 10 yards away, and you can clearly see his slanted eyes and sharp cheekbones. You suddenly realize that what you had mistaken for muscle and fur is in fact an Ice Barbarian child. Each scout is carrying a large backpack containing a small child. These children are armed with small bone bows, and they fire a constant stream of arrows as their fathers ski nearer and nearer. And here's a picture of the tattooed, very vicious-looking barbarian with his fur-lined helmet. He's got a very grim-looking child on his back. That is not a happy child. That child has already seen some hard living. And then the pole with the strange flag on their back. Nice barbarians. They got their kids on their back shooting bows at us. That's rude. Suddenly, Irian falls, an arrow buried in his back. No, not Irian! Dice runs to his aid, but is shot down before he has taken a dozen steps. Man, my guides are going down quickly. Fëanor is hit. An arrow passes straight through his throat. Okay, so my guides are all dead. He bravely staggers on for nearly a minute before collapsing in the snow. You are on your own. An Ice Barbarian scout skis past to your left and returns towards you head-on. He has a spear under one arm, which is leveled at your chest. I can try to fight or I can escape. Well, they just killed my guides. My homies are dead. Of course we're gonna fight. How's it going, I am Evac? Why are you reading? Because that's what I'm doing. That's what this stream is. These are Lone Wolf Gamebooks and I'm reading them. This is the 3rd one. I've done 2 others before this. As the Ice Barbarian Scout is on skis, you will only be able to fight 1 round of combat before the momentum of his attack carries him past you. Alright, here we go. Well, I've got the Summer Sword, so I'm feeling good. Let's do the battle here. He's got 20 combat skill, which is pretty high, and 28 endurance, which is a lot. But I'm feeling good about this. Let's do 1 round of this and see what happens. I lost no endurance, and he lost 14, half of his health straight up. So I just wrecked that guy in the first round. If I sustain a higher endurance point loss, if he loses more endurance, or if you use exactly the same amount. So he lost more endurance than me. In fact, I lost none, so he can pretty much suck it. Your attack has caused the Ice Barbarian Scout to lose his balance. He tumbles in a flurry of snow and broken skis. The fur-clad child rolls clear of his father's backpack and lies face downwards in the snow, less than 10 feet away. The Ice Barbarian Scout is badly dazed by the fall, but is already attempting to stagger to his feet. I could grab the child as a hostage. I don't really see myself doing that. No, I think I'm just going to murder this child's father right in front of him. Attack him before he fully regains his senses. The Ice Barbarian is on his knees when you enter combat. He cannot react to your attack during the first 2 rounds, Ignore any endurance points you lose during the first 2 rounds of combat. It shows him with 28 endurance, so I don't know if I should count the endurance I already took off of him. I think I should. So let's go round 2. Alright, 1 round. He loses a bunch more. I don't lose any. And I still didn't lose any. Man, I rolled really well on that combat. So we took him out. We lost no endurance. Highest barbarian went down. And the kid is just sitting there like, did you seriously just kill my dad? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Life's hard. The dead ice barbarian's child cowers over his father's body and stares at you with hatred blazing in his eyes. You notice that the other ice barbarian scouts are closing in, and you must act quickly to save yourself. You decide to use the boy as a hostage, but he is like a wild animal. He bites, scratches, and kicks to free himself from your grip. Alright, well that's one way to go about things, I guess. You manage to hang on to the struggling child and remove a bone dagger from his boot to prevent him stabbing you in the back. The ice barbarians have drawn themselves up into a circle around you, but they dare not attack while you are holding one of their children as a hostage. Holding the bone dagger to the child's throat, you slowly inch your way towards the sledge. You soon realize that you will never be able to outdistance them on a loaded sledge. You will have to think of something, and quickly. And there's ice barbarians on skis. He's got a ski pole and a crazy looking serrated spiky sword thing. He looks like he's really happy to be alive too. I can cut the equipment loose, free the ice barbarian child, and escape on the unloaded sledge. Or cut loose the equipment but keep the boy with me. I'm gonna let the kid go. Let's give that a shot. This might lead to my death, but what can you do? Letting the boy go free at the last possible moment, you grab the sledge whip and lash the dogs, driving them for everything they're worth. On all sides, flurries of arrows whistle past you, and several thud into the framework of the empty sledge. A couple of the ice barbarian scouts give chase, but your dog team is now much faster, and you soon outdistance even their arrows. By nightfall, you reach the very edge of the Viad Mountains. This vast granite range rises sheer out of the ice and snow and presents you with an impassable barrier on such a moonless night. Meanwhile, a wind rises in the west, heralding a night squall. You must find shelter, or you will surely perish in the blizzard. I do have tracking and sixth sense, so let's use those. Your Kai discipline reveals to you that there is a network of caves less than a couple of 100 yards to the south. You abandon the sledge and search southwards. You have explored only 100 yards of the rock face when you discover a large fissure, the entrance to a cave. In your eagerness to escape from the bitter wind, you quickly enter, and, in the darkness, fail to notice the crevasse that divides this cave in two. In a tumble of ice and stone, you fall head first into the dark. Well, that's gonna go well. You fall over 30 feet and land flat on your back in the snow-filled crevasse. You are surrounded by sharp stalagmites and jagged ice, but you have miraculously escaped death and injury. Shaken, but thankful to be alive, you stagger to your feet and grasp a crystal stalagmite for support. You slowly become aware that you can see your hands quite clearly. A faint light is seeping from a fissure to your left. With curiosity getting the better of your natural caution, you stagger across the crevasse floor and explore this mysterious cave. After a few hundred yards, you find yourself in a huge cavern that spreads out in all directions as far as the eye can see. You have entered the Caverns of Kalte, dun dun dun, that's the name of the book, and are now looking at an uncharted world that few Somlending have ever seen. This massive underground labyrinth was constructed by the ancients many ages before the Somlending set foot in Magnamund. Its wide avenues, temples, and arenas once echoed to the sounds of a race of creatures for whom the ice was a natural home. Malare bowls still hang from the ceiling, bathing the caverns in their eternal light. You trek steadily northwards for nearly 6 hours until you arrive at the bank of a fast-flowing meltwater river. On the opposite bank, you see a tunnel leading off into the distance. You can find no apparent way of crossing the deep water, except by using the ice floes bobbing up and down on the surface. This seems safe. By jumping from one floe to the next, you could get to the opposite bank, but it will not be easy. You will have to jump at least 3 of the icy slabs to reach the other side. Pick a random number. If I have hunting, I can add 2. If my current endurance is less than 8, I have to deduct 2. Alright, so a number plus 2. I got a 4 plus 2 is 6. So this would have been the bad result. If you had 3 or less, you'd be hating life probably. But I got, I suppose, the decent result. Running for the tunnel entrance, you quickly leave the icy river far behind. You follow the tunnel for countless hours as it bends its way northwards. It becomes impossible to recall what hour of the day it is. The perpetual half-light of these caverns never changes. Through fissures in the wall of the tunnel, you catch glimpses of other chambers, and you marvel at the sheer scale of the labyrinth. You are nearly asleep on your feet when you suddenly detect the aroma of cooked meat. It is coming from a chamber just a few yards ahead to your right. You are very hungry and must soon eat. Well, I'd better investigate this chamber, even though it's probably something terrible. You can see 2 men in ragged clothes, huddled together beside a fire that seems to be burning inside a small metal bowl. Over the flames, the skinned carcass of a small animal is roasting on a spit. The men are old and toothless, and they have a strange glint of madness in their slanted eyes. Approach and ask for food. Attack them. Ignore and continue on your way. I'll approach and ask for food, even though this seems like a terrible idea. On seeing you enter, the 2 old men jump to their feet and flee from the chamber along a smaller passageway. Their screams of panic echo loudly throughout the caverns. You are very hungry and quickly consume the cooked animal, pausing only to spit out the bones. You then notice that the fire is burning in a strange, half-spherical metal bowl. The other half of the sphere lies on the icy floor nearby, and you find that both halves fit together perfectly. When you open it, you discover that the fire still burns inside. If you wish to keep this fire sphere, place it inside your jacket and mark it on your action chart as a special item. Well, yeah, I want to keep it. That sounds really useful. Fire sphere. Seems like a perfectly safe thing to have under my jacket. All of a sudden, I notice a burning sensation. Turn to the tunnel. Alright. Unless you have just eaten, you lose 3 endurance points from hunger, and there's a note. Okay. If I had a meal, I could, right, according to the Mongoose edition. You continue along the tunnel for over a mile, but you soon become tired and stop to sleep. You awake, feeling refreshed, but have no idea just how long you have been sleeping. The light of these caverns never changes, be it day or night. You continue onwards, mile after mile, passing through a series of huge ice halls containing towering pillars of crystal. In one vast chamber, you are mesmerized by the beautiful sight of a shimmering crystal ceiling. But beyond this chamber lies an even greater spectacle. A narrow passage leads on to a ledge running around the brink of a huge chasm over half a mile wide. As you edge your way around this awesome void, you try not to look down into its wind-swept depths many miles below. You have been on the ledge for only a few minutes when a noise behind you makes you glance back. To your horror, you see you are being followed by a monstrous 2-headed serpent. I have tracking and animal kinship. You recognize the serpent to be a Javek, a 2-headed and deadly poisonous ice snake. As it slithers nearer, you can clearly see the open jaw of the second head and the yellow curved fangs dripping with venom. It moves very quickly, and you know that you will not be able to outrun it along this narrow ledge. If I possess a fire sphere, well, I do. I just got one. See what happens. You remove the fire sphere from your jacket, quickly split open the two halves, and place them upon the narrow ledge behind. The Javek hisses loudly, both its heads weaving and darting at you in rage. It is desperate to attack, but it will not approach the fire sphere. Instead, it attempts to slither around the flames, but the ledge is very narrow, no more than a foot wide. It cannot pass without singeing itself. Eventually, angry but powerless, the strange reptile resigns itself to failure and disappears back along the ledge and into the passageway beyond. You can now retrieve your fire sphere and continue your exploration. Awesome, that helped out. You reach a tunnel on the far side of the chasm and follow it for many miles. You eventually arrive at an enormous chamber, the ceiling of which towers 500 feet above you. An icy wind blowing through the many fissures that crack the ceiling whips around the hall. Search for a way of climbing up and out through the fissures. Press on and look for an exit on the far side of the hall. I'm gonna do this one. You discover a low passage that opens out into a cavern full of stalagmites. There are two exits in the opposite ice wall. Both disappear into darkness. In the snow around the entrances of both tunnels are many strange tracks. I do have the Kai discipline of tracking, so let's use it. The tracks have been made by dangerous and carnivorous creatures called Baknar. If you run into them in the confines of a dark and narrow tunnel, your chances of survival would be very slim indeed. Although your Kai discipline has enabled you to identify the tracks, you are unable to sense which tunnel the Baknar occupy. Well, tracking not really helping me out there. I need to know which tunnel, yo. Alright, I'm just gonna have to guess and hope I don't fuck up. I'm gonna take the right tunnel. You have covered less than 50 yards when you arrive in another cavern. Lying upon a raised dais of ice in the center of the frozen chamber is a Baknar, a fierce and carnivorous ice creature. It seems to be sound asleep, and the remains of an animal lie scattered around the slab. In the far wall of the chamber lies another tunnel. I have the Kai discipline of hunting. Baknar are known to sleep for up to 3 days after a feast. By the number of freshly stripped bones littering the chamber, this Baknar is likely to be asleep for many hours. You slip past the snoring creature and leave the chamber. Cool, I made it past. That's good. After a short walk, you arrive at a massive ice hall full of crystal stalagmites and stalactites. The floor is covered with animal tracks and bones, yet the vast hall seems empty and still. You notice that the northern wall is a completely smooth surface of granite blocks, stretching upwards to the icy ceiling, over 100 feet above. You suddenly realize that you are staring at the foundation stones of Ikaya. You have reached the ice fortress. Well, that was easy enough. There's, the ice fortress. And some random blobby things there, whatever those are. Partially obscured by a large mound of crystals, you can just make out a ramp leading up to a massive stone door in the fortress wall. Your discovery brings renewed hope. If you can gain entry to Ikaya and quickly capture Vonotar, there is still time to reach your ship, the Cardinal, before the pack ice starts to freeze. Cross the hall and examine the door, or stop and search the bone-littered floor. I'll stop and search the bone-littered floor. You discover that many of the bones scattered among the stalagmites are of human origin. Shattered skulls, skeletal hands, and rib cages lie half buried in the ice. You are about to abandon your search when a small box made of carved bone catches your eye. I will open this box. The bone box contains a beautiful diamond. Its many facets gleam and sparkle, even in the dim half-light of the ice hall. In Summerland, a jewel of this size and quality would be worth thousands of crowns. If you wish to keep the diamond, slip it into your pocket and mark it on your action chart as a special item. Diamond. I can now examine the fortress door by turning to 52. As you climb the slippery stone ramp, the sound of cracking ice makes you spin around. The large mound of crystals at the base of the ramp is beginning to move. The crystals are alive. You stare in disbelief as the mound is transformed into a writhing mass of crystal coils. The coils unwind and the ice creature slithers towards you. I'll fight it. This strange creature is a crystal frost worm, a scavenging beast now living on the remains of the unfortunate creatures that have entered the cavern. Its hard skin is almost transparent, and its internal organs can be seen pulsating inside. A large mouth opens in the crystalline head to reveal row upon row of jagged crystal teeth. Your back is pressed to the stone door, and there is no way to evade the monster. You must fight the creature to the death. It is immune to Mind Blast. It's okay, I don't have Mind Blast. There's the Crystal Frostworm. It's got a hell of a tongue on it there. Crystal tongue? Alright, it doesn't look that tough. It's got a lot of endurance, but its combat skill is weak sauce. So let's do this. Round 1. I lost 2, it lost 9. Round 2. I lost none, it lost all the rest of its endurance. Man, I just straight up killed it right there. It had 21 endurance left and I reduced it to 0. That must have been a really good roll. Plus there's a high, like I have a +8 combat skill difference, so it's possible if you roll high when you have that much combat skill that you can get insta kills. Alright. Wow, that went well. Man, now that I've got the Summer Sword, I'm a total badass. I'm killing everything. Like it ain't no thing. And I'll heal myself. You watch with a mixture of fascination and revulsion as each segment of the creature shatters and then slowly dissolves into the ice. Soon, all that remains of the crystal frostworm are the undigested contents of its stomach. To your surprise, in the center of this mess of fetid flesh and bone, you can see the shank of an ornate silver key. I'll take it. The key is coated with a corrosive digestive acid that burns through your mittens and attacks your fingers. Lose 1 endurance point. You drop the key and plunge your hand into the snow to ease the pain. If you still wish to keep the key, you can wipe it in the snow before placing it in your pocket. But remember to mark it on your action chart as a special item. Key. Wait, what kind of key was it? Ornate silver key. Ornate silver key. You must now search for a way of opening the fortress door. Well, I just found a key. And I heal myself. The fortress door is completely smooth. It has no visible lock, hinge, or keyhole. However, turning your attention to the granite wall, you notice that one of the massive blocks is different to all the others. A small triangle has been cut into its surface. If I possess a blue stone triangle, I could open this, but I don't have one. You search every square inch of the door and surrounding wall, but there appear to be no unusual features. You are examining the stone ramp when a loud roar freezes your blood. A Kalkoth has entered the ice hall. You turn to see the creature bounding towards you. Its jaws are wide open, revealing its barbed tongue. That sounds scary. You cannot evade the Kalkoth, and you must fight it to the death. And there's a Kalkoth. It looks kind of like a big lion bear with apparently a barbed tongue. However, it doesn't look very difficult. Let's see what happens. Combat skill 10 is pretty weak sauce. Alright, round 1. I killed it outright without losing any endurance in 1 round. Well, yeah, I have a +13 thing over it. Like, if you look at the... This is the combat results table. I'd be rolling on this column right here, 11 or greater, which means if I rolled an 8, 9, or 0, it's insta-killed. Must be what I rolled, obviously. Alright, nice. You lose any endurance points, turn to 66, but I didn't. I won the combat without losing any endurance points. And I heal myself. Kalkoth down. Mess that Kalkoth up. Oh, cool. The thing I needed to open the door was just delivered to me. You notice that the Kalkoth has a blue triangle of stone on a chain around its neck. Suddenly you realize the significance of this strange amulet. Grabbing the blue stone, you race back to the fortress door and press it into the wall recess. It is a perfect fit. I can record this special item as a blue stone triangle which you wear around your neck. Cool. I may need this again. You become aware of a faint tremor running through the ledge on which you were standing, followed by the grinding noise of stone upon stone. The door opens, but it has only opened 3 feet when there is a loud crack and it starts to close. Without a second's hesitation, you dive into the fortress and hear the massive door crash shut behind you. The corridor in which you now stand is far warmer than the icy cavern outside. For the first time in many days, you can lower the hood of your cloak and remove your mittens without risking frostbite. You notice that the stone passage ascends to a landing where another passage branches off to the east. Malare bowls hang at regular intervals along the arched ceiling, their unnatural light illuminating the carved walls. As you approach the landing, you notice an archway leading into a small room beyond. A strange sight meets your eyes. Ragged furs, pottery shards, and the debris of hundreds of years seems to have been thrown into this chamber. A large lever protrudes from the wall beside the archway. And there's some debris. There's a boot. Kind of little box there. Enter the room and investigate. Pull the lever. I will enter the room and investigate the contents. After 10 minutes of searching the room, you discover an old fur backpack and a long coil of rope. You may take the backpack only if you do not already wear one. The rope counts as 2 backpack items as it takes up extra space. Rope sounds useful. Okay, rope. Finally satisfied that there is nothing else of value in this junk-filled room, you leave and continue your exploration along the East Passage. You soon reach the bottom of a flight of broad stone steps that ascends northwards to a landing nearly 30 feet above. The center of each step has been worn smooth by the feet of the countless creatures that once inhabited the lower levels of cold Ikaya. As you climb, you wonder how long you will remain undetected. So far, you have neither seen nor heard any other living soul in these deserted passages. You have the element of surprise on your side. You now pray that Vonotar is unprepared for an intruder from the depths of his own fortress. You reach the landing and pass through an empty hall, towards a darkened archway beyond. Here, the passage splits and branches off towards the east and west. You are hungry and must now eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. I have a meal. I'll eat it. Now I have no more meals. Who should take the east passage or the west passage? Well, I really have no idea which one is better. So, I suppose I will go east. You walk along the passage for several minutes until it takes a left turn. To your dismay, you see that a huge fissure has opened, destroying most of the walls and floor of this new passage. The gaping hole is dark and wide. I do have a rope, and I will use it. A malare bowl hangs from the ceiling directly above the fissure. It's a bowl with light coming out of it. Attach your rope to the bowl and swing across, or do not risk falling into the fissure. This sounds dangerous as shit. What the hell? Let's go for it. Let's see what happens. The bowl creaks and splinters of stone fall from the ceiling as you swing across the black fissure, but you are lucky. The rope holds and you land safely on the other side. With a flick of your wrist, you retrieve the rope and set off along the passage. You have gone only a few yards when you notice an arched stone door to your left, adorned with strange carvings. These carvings depict hundreds of skeletons entwined around smooth blocks of stone. To the side of the door, you see that a lever in the wall is raised. There's carvings of skeletons. I'll check it out. I'm not scared of skeletons. I got the Samur sword. What's up? Pull the lever. The stone door grinds open to reveal a small, dimly lit chamber. A black monolith, 8 feet high, stands directly in front of you. It is covered with strange symbols. You advance to get a clearer look, when the door suddenly begins to close behind you. There is no lever inside this chamber. Boy. I'll stay where I am and see what happens. The door crashes shut, sealing the exit to the passage outside. Gradually, you become aware of a vibration in the floor, but it lasts for only a few seconds and is followed by a dull click. Your gaze is drawn back to the black monolith. A crack has appeared in its surface. It runs the entire circumference of the slab, and it is getting wider and wider. I will prepare for combat. Ooh. The monolith suddenly explodes, sending hundreds of razor-sharp shards screaming through the air. You are pierced by the stone shrapnel and thrown to the far wall by the sheer force of the blast. You lose 10 endurance points. Ouch. Alright. Yeah, hey Jen, how you doing? Yes, I am officially reading a Lone Wolf game book. It's a lot of reading. I think I'm most of the way through it now. I'm not sure how long it actually is, but I've been going for about an hour. You are bleeding very badly from a wound in your right leg. It seems as if the flow of blood will never stop, so you tie a makeshift tourniquet around your thigh. You stagger to your feet and survey the damaged chamber. The monolith must have been designed to guard against or ensnare trespassers. A powerful glyph, which is a spell of explosive power, was obviously placed on it long ago. You notice a panel in the north wall has opened to reveal a darkened exit from this chamber. I heal myself for one because I can. I should probably explore this new exit instead of the door by which I entered. That looks serious. The passage is short, and you quickly arrive at another stone chamber. Ahead, you can see a flight of stone stairs leading to a darkened archway high above. At the foot of the stairs, still upright and in armor, are the skeletal remains of an ancient tomb keeper. A large black sword rests in the skeleton's bony fingers. And this is our skeleton. He's pretty well armored there. And there's the stairs leading up into darkness. Do I want to attack the skeleton just because it's standing there? Hell yeah. We don't let skeletons live. I heal myself another point real quick first. Your first blow scatters the bones of the skeleton all over the chamber. It seems that it was nothing more than the harmless remains of an old tomb guard. A closer examination of the sword reveals that the blackness is nothing more than pitted iron. You lower your weapon and slowly climb the stairs. You climb over 50 steps before reaching the archway. As you catch your breath, you notice that a billowing and swirling veil of mist completely covers the arch, hiding whatever lies beyond. You suddenly realize that the temperature is much colder around this archway. Now you feel bad for the skeleton? The poor skeleton was just trying to be in peace, and I put it in pieces instead. That's very rude of me. It was. Alright, temperature's much colder. If you have Sixth Sense and you're a Guardian, which I am, or if you have Sixth Sense but you haven't reached Guardian, or if you don't have Sixth Sense, well, I'm the best. I'm a Guardian and I have Sixth Sense, so let's do this. You can sense the presence of a powerful life force beyond the misty arch. As you concentrate, you suddenly recall a tale told to you when you were a small child, the legend of the Vagaden Gate. This was a tale of ice demons, and how they once fought a war to be able to leave their world and come to Kalte. They were formless creatures, without shape and substance, and existed as pure energy in another dimension, beyond the confines of space and time. The ice demons discovered the Vagaden Gate, a sort of door between their world and Magnamund. They fought each other to enter this gate, unaware of the fate that awaited them. The ancients had also discovered the gate. As the ice demons passed through the Vagaden, their spirits were imprisoned in crystals by the cunning ancients, who harnessed the power of the ice demons to build Ikaya. The Malare bowls that light the fortress each contain the spirits of lesser ice demons trapped within. You also remember that the tale warns against destroying the crystal prisons. If an ice demon is released, it will seek to claim the body of its rescuer. Forewarned by your Kai skill, you enter the Misty Arch. Alright, Sixth Sense. Finally putting in some work for me. Give myself again. You enter a massive chamber, ill-lit and icy cold. A hidden temple of the ancients. The floor is made from slabs of quartz and granite and is littered with rock and ice. Your eye follows a line of tall pillars leading towards a sacrificial altar set into an alcove in the northern wall. Upon this altar lies a strange statue which seems to be carved from smooth white stone. At its head and feet, black staves rest upright in holes bored into the altar stone. To the left of the altar, there is a darkened archway, through which a flight of stairs ascends out of view. Yeah, Jen, ice demons equals bad news. Yeah, they sound pretty serious. I mean, ice is a problem, demons are a problem, you combine them together, and, you know, it's a cold problem. Alright. Cross to advance toward the staircase. Cross by stepping only on the quartz stones. Cross by stepping only on the granite stones. What the fuck does this have to do with the thing I just learned about with Sixth Sense? Like, that didn't prepare me for this. I don't know what kind of stones to... Well, the statue is carved of smooth white stone. So... maybe I should step on the quartz. Let's go for it and see what happens. I could get... this thing does have some instant death things, where like if you choose the wrong thing, you just die outright, and you're done. So far I haven't died in this book. I died once each in the first two books. As you step onto the quartz, you sense a vibration that runs up your leg to your knee. You see that within the flagstone, a dull light pulsates, and a humming sound can be heard emanating from the altar. With your heart pounding, you prepare yourself for an attack and slowly advance. You have taken less than a dozen steps when a brilliant crackle of blue energy arcs between the two staves. You see the white statue beginning to move as if activated by the surge of power. I'll remain perfectly still and prepare for combat. The statue rises slowly from the altar and advances towards you. As it comes closer, you feel an intense chill radiating from its smooth, stony skin. However, its movements are stiff and uncertain. You could easily dodge its outstretched arms. So I'm thinking this might be one of the vessels that contains the spirit of an ice demon, and if I don't attack it, nothing bad will happen. 1984, does someone recreate this in Twine? There's a website called Project Aeon where they actually put up all these books, like all 26 of the Lone Wolf books, in this format, which they did with the permission of the author for free, which is pretty cool. But yeah, these are old. These are from my childhood. It's when I originally read these. I actually had the physical books. This is what the cover of this one looked like. I remember it well. $2.95. You ain't getting a paperback book for $2.95 these days. Alright, I'm not going to attack it. It seems like that would be a foolish thing to do. Dodge past it and run toward the archway beyond. As you pass through the archway, you notice a lever set into the dark stone wall. You pull it, and a door slides across, sealing the temple behind you. The temperature is warmer, and you can hear a low rumbling sound somewhere in the distance. Ahead, you can see a light at the end of a dark passageway. You discover that it is shining out of an oblong portal close to the floor, through which you can see a corridor 10 feet below. Should I go through the portal, or just along the passage? A portal sounds more interesting, so let's go through the portal. Holding your equipment and your breath, you try to land as quietly as you can on the dusty floor of the corridor. Unfortunately, you twist your ankle in the fall and cannot stifle a yelp of pain. Lose 1 endurance point. Alright, I'll lose 1, but I'm going to heal 1 this section anyway, so it'll stay the same. Then, to your horror, you see an ice barbarian seated less than 30 feet away to your left. His head is slowly turning in your direction. However, a quick glance to your right reveals another corridor headed north, less than 15 feet from where you now kneel. I do have the Kai discipline of camouflage, thank you very much. The stone walls of the corridor are covered with strange carvings which cast deep shadows. Using your skill, you hide yourself in their gloom. The ice barbarian walks slowly towards you, his movements tense and unsteady. Your skin crawls as you notice for the first time his white, pupilless eyes. Holding your breath, you pray that he has not seen you. Now we gotta just pick for random luck. Are we gonna get screwed or not? I got a 0. That's probably not good. Maybe it is good. The ice barbarian passes within 6 inches of your hiding place. He pauses before walking back along the corridor. You breathe a sigh of relief. You have not been discovered. And yet, on the other hand, I kind of feel like I should take him out. Stealth takedown! I mean, I can't let this guy just roam around and discover me at his leisure. Let's take him out. Due to the surprise of your attack, you strike twice before the ice barbarian can react. Yeah, he's gonna die. You do not lose any endurance points during the first 2 rounds of combat. If the ice barbarian is still alive for the 3rd round of combat, he draws a bone scimitar and attacks you. He's immune to Mind Blast. Alright, no problem. So he's got a 17 combat skill and 29 endurance. I've got enough combat skill bonus on him that I should be able to take him out. Probably within 2 rounds. We'll see. Round 1. Alright, I don't actually... Round 1, he lost... What, 11? Round 2. Lost another 11, so he's down to 7. I'll probably kill him this round for sure, but now he actually gets to fight back, so he might do a little bit of damage to me. Oh, he's hanging in there! He did like 4 points of damage to me, and he's not quite dead. Ice Barbarian's gonna get a little work done before he dies. Alright. Fuck this motherfucker. There we go. And he actually took some health off me, though. I mean, not much, but some, and he's dead. in. And then I start healing myself. A tooth-encrusted bone sword lies at the barbarian's side. You may take this weapon if you wish. You search his body and also discover a gold bracelet on his left wrist. I'll take his sword. I mean, I'm never going to use it because I have the summer sword, which is super amazing, but it's cooler than that mace that I'm carrying around. I'll take a bone sword just for, like, decoration. I do have Sixth Sense. I have a feeling that bracelet's gonna be something bad. Heal myself again. There is an aura of power encircling the gold bracelet that makes you feel uneasy. The ice barbarians rely on tooth and bone for their weapons because there are no mines in Kalte. Not only gold, but all metals are considered rare and precious. You have never heard of the ice barbarians trading their furs for any metal other than steel. Jewelry is of no interest to these hard and cruel hunters. You suspect that this bracelet was worn by force and not by choice. If you wish to take it and wear it... No, I don't want to take it and wear it. It's probably going to enslave me. That's probably why his eyes were all white. He was, like, enslaved by the bracelet. I'm not taking it. Can't fool me with some dodgy slave bracelet. Sixth Sense comes in so handy. That's why it was one of the first ones I picked. Alright, turning a corner. You breathe a sigh of relief. Behind you all is silent, but you become aware that the low rumbling sound you detected earlier is much louder in this corridor. A few yards along to your left, a short passage leads to a closed stone door. I'll investigate the door. There is a lever in the wall and a spy hole in the center of the door. Peering through the spy hole, you see a strange sight. A man in a dark robe is kneeling in the center of a pentacle, chalked on the floor of the chamber. His head is bowed and he seems to be in a trance. Well, this seems like it's all perfectly wholesome. Some creepy guy in a dark robe kneeling and doing something in a pentacle on the floor. I should probably just move on, but I'm going to pull the lever and open the door anyway, because I'm intrigued. As the stone door grinds open, the man jerks his head back in surprise. "Who's there?" he whispers in a thin, strangled voice. His eyes glint from beneath the shadow of his ragged hood. Suddenly, he seems to recognize you and jumps excitedly to his feet. "The gods be praised! Ikaya Lord! My name is Tygon. I'm a merchant from Ragadorn." Ragadorn was not good to me. That's where I lost all my shit. I hate Ragadorn. "The ice barbarians kidnapped me in Liuk and brought me here. I now await an audience with their new Bromomark, the some-lending sorcerer they call Vonatar. It seems that he shall decide my fate. But if you free me from this sorcerer's pentagram, I'll aid you as best I can." You recognize the pentagram to be a circle of binding, a magical prison that can only be broken from the outside. You can easily wipe away part of the circle and free this man. I have visited Ragadorn. It was a shithole. Everything I owned was stolen there, including my helmet and my shield and my chainmail, stuff that I've never been able to get back. Fucking Ragadorn. I'll ask him some simple questions about the city to allay any suspicions you may have about who he claims to be. Ooh, I have to actually remember this shit. Current ruler of Ragadorn, I don't know who that is. I might remember the name of the river. I might remember the name of the tavern on Barnacle Street if I see it. I'll ask him that. Because I did go to that tavern. I just don't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was called. The man hesitates and then answers, "Why, the Rusty Anchor Inn, of course." That could have been it. I can't remember, though. It might have been the Rusty Anchor. But it might not have been. Well, fuck it. Let's free him and see what happens. I mean, it's a terrible idea. He's probably some kind of demon or something, and this is gonna backfire on me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, it was a bad idea. Alright, using the edge of your cloak, you wipe away a section of the pentagram that is wide enough to let the man escape. You notice that he is painfully thin and unsteady on his feet.
My thanks, Kai Lord. I shall endeavor to repay your kindness some day, if we ever escape from this fortress, he says. You had best lead, for my eyes ail me. I have suffered snow blindness, and this pain still lingers on.
You lead the way into the passage and are about to turn north into the main corridor, when a pair of steely-fingered hands suddenly close around your throat from behind. A hideous cry betrays the merchant's true identity. He is a Helghast. I've fought Helghast before. They're kinda no joke. A deadly shape-changing servant of the Dark Lords. He has tricked you into releasing him from the pentagram, and he now intends to murder you. That's kinda what they do. You desperately fight for air as his skeletal fingers burn and tear at your throat. You lose 6 endurance points. That's rude. If you were still alive, you managed to break free of his grip, but you must now fight this creature to the death. Due to the surprise of its attack, you cannot swallow any potions before the combat. So, I do possess the Somber Sword, which means I'm going to kick this thing's ass, but if I didn't, I would be fucked. I would probably just insta-die, because these things are immune to normal weapons, which means if I didn't have this sword, I wouldn't have any way to hurt him, and I would just die. But I do have it, and I'm going to kick his ass with it right now. The mighty sword illuminates the passage with its golden glow. The Helghast shrieks with a hideous cry and retreats, its eyes glowing a fiery red with hatred and fear. It recognizes the power you wield, a force that spells death and eternal destruction to its kind. In blind panic, it attacks you with a powerful mind blast. Unless you possess the Kai discipline of Mind Shield, you must lose 2 endurance points for every round of combat you fight with this creature. I do not have Mind Shield. It is immune to Mind Blast. However, because the creature is one of the undead, remember to double all endurance points that it loses due to the power of the Somber Sword. Yeah, it's going down. It's going down. It's 22 combat skill, 30 endurance. Even though it has a lot more endurance than me, it's going to take double damage because of the Somber Sword, so really I'm not worried about it. First round, 19 and 30. See, I already took off 16 out of its 30, and it only took 2 points off me. Now I lose 2 more right now from its Mind Blast, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to kick its ass. It's dead, and I lose 2 more. So I'm down to 11, which is the lowest I've gotten in this book. But still killed a Helghast, which is a pretty powerful enemy. Yay, Somber Sword, getting it done. I win. I'll take a drink of water real quick. It's not a lone wolf book until you fight a Helghast. The body... Actually, I didn't fight one in the first book. I fought 2 in the second book, one of which was already wounded. Third book, though, got to kill Helghast. Now we're good to go. Don't insta-die. Yeah, insta-dying is bad. I insta-died in each of the previous 2 books before this. Once. I haven't insta-died yet in this one. The body of the Helghast bubbles and dissolves at your feet, a vile green gas seeping out from beneath its robes. As you stare in revulsion at the decomposing corpse, you suddenly realize that this foul creature must have been sent here to kill Vonotar. There can be no other reason for its being here. The Dark Lords of Helgadad crave Vonotar's death in payment for his failure at the Battle of Holmgulf, and have discovered his whereabouts. The wizard must have discovered the Helghast and imprisoned it within the pentacle until he could devise a way of permanently destroying it. I handled that for you, Vonotar, don't even trip. I got you covered. Also, I'm going to kill you. You gingerly touch your wounded throat and thank the gods that you possess the Somber Sword. Its powers have once again saved your life. Turning into the main corridor, you quickly leave behind the smoking remains. On the west wall of the corridor, you see another stone door, with a small spy hole cut into the center, revealing a cell on the other side. An old man is huddled in the far corner of the cell, his face and hair matted with blood and dirt. His blue robes are so filthy that the crescents and stars embroidered on them are almost totally obscured. Oh, he's a wizard of Toran, like that guy Baindon that we met. Same kind of robes. Let's open it.
Upon my soul, Ikaya Lord! He exclaims, his eyes now wide with astonishment. How I've prayed for freedom, for deliverance from this infernal place! And although hope never deserted me, I never expected such an illustrious rescuer. In the middle of his excitement, the old man is suddenly disturbed by a fit of coughing that leaves him pale and exhausted. It is a few minutes before he can speak again. My name is Loy Kaimar. I am an elder of the Magicians Guild of Toran, he says, slowly removing a small crystal star pendant. I used to have one of those until those fuckers at Ragadorn stole it. The symbol of the guild from beneath his tattered robes. The guild is known as the Brotherhood of the Crystal Star, and the magician shows his pendant as proof of his identity. You ask him how he came to be imprisoned here in Ikaya, many hundreds of miles from his native Toran. So here he is, Loy Kaimar. Apparently he's got a bunch of magical looking shit in front of him in his cell just because. Random moon on the top of his staff. Vonatar, that unspeakable wretch, is responsible for my plight. Days before the Dark Lord invasion of Summerland, he betrayed your Kai masters to win power, the black power of death and darkness. However, he failed to play his part in the war plans his evil masters had laid. That's because I defeated him. The Dark Lords do not tolerate such weakness. Mercy has no place in their brutal minds. In the bitterness of defeat, they sought to destroy Vonatar for his crime of failure. Vonatar knew that I possessed the only means to effect an escape from their vengeance, for my guild staff has the power of teleportation. He tried to steal it and flee to the safety of Ikaya by himself, but he learnt that its power is not for all men to share. Only I am blessed with its secret. He was angry and would have murdered my kinspeople had I not agreed to bring him here, so I had no choice but to do so. Ever since, I have been a prisoner in this cell. Vonatar has tortured my body and my mind, but I have not divulged the secret of my guild staff, which he now keeps in the hall of the Brumal Mark. For if I were to tell him, my life would no longer be of any value. You tell Loy Kaimar of your mission and of the events that have led to your meeting. He offers to show you a route through Ikaya to the hall of the Brumal Mark, where Vonatar now resides as ruler. And if you can retrieve his guild staff, he promises to teleport you to the coast in time to rendezvous with your ship. Well, that's fucking convenient. I don't even have to make the journey back. Sweet. For the first time... Oh, this is... Don't say this. This means something terrible is about to happen. For the first time since you fell into the Caverns of Kalte, you feel confident that your mission can now succeed. You have gained hope. Yeah, everything's gonna be great now. It's all downhill from here. I am perfectly safe. No problems. Nothing could go wrong. If I possess a glowing crystal, I don't possess one of those, do I? No, I don't have a glowing crystal. I have a bunch of other random shit, but not a glowing crystal. Follow me, says Loy Kaimar. I've listened to the sounds of Ikaya for over a year, and the secret sliding doors and the hidden routes here are no mystery to me. I have learnt more about these corridors and passages from the confines of my cell than Vonatar has discovered with all of his cunning. You follow the old magician through a network of secret passages and tunnels, up long flights of stairs and into chambers dark and cold. At the top of one very steep staircase, you come to a stone door. A strange, sickly smell is seeping from a small spy hole. The kitchens, whispers Loy Kaimar, showing his distaste for Ikaya cuisine by sticking out his tongue and grimacing.
You can see that this secret door opens next to a fireplace in which burns a roaring fire. Hanging over the fire is a large stone cauldron of gruel. Gruel. That's what's for dinner. 2 ice barbarians sit at a table nearby with empty bowls in front of them. I do not possess a potion of black grave weed. I do not possess a potion of green gallow brush. I don't even know where you get such things. I can open the secret door and launch a surprise attack. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Honorable, Kai Lord. Doing shit honorable. They're unarmed and surprised, and I'm just gonna run in and start chopping up on them. I give a fuck. The ice barbarians are taken completely by surprise. You have killed one of them before the other has time to react to your attack. Nice. He's unarmed but determined to fight you. Yeah, he's not gonna have a good time here. This isn't gonna go well for you, ice barbarian. Even though I'm still down a bit of endurance, it doesn't matter. His combat skill is so low compared to mine that I even have a chance of one-shotting him. I have 15, he has 25. Round 1. He loses 11, I lose 2. Round 2. He's dead. I don't lose anything. Yeah, so that didn't go well for you, ice barbarian. Heal myself. You drag the bodies out of the kitchen and prop them behind the secret door. When you return, Ikaya is busy examining the bottles of herbs that line the kitchen's shelves. He pockets several jars and mixes the contents of 2 others in a small stone bowl. He offers you a handful of the dry leaves and urges you to eat them. They will restore your strength, lone wolf! You eat the sweet-tasting herbs and feel a warm glow radiating throughout your body. Restore 6 endurance points to your current total. That's helpful, thanks. Turning to 301. There's the little bowl of sweet herbs. So, after the fight, Ikaya and I had to partake of some herb, apparently. Was this section 420? No, it's 340. Alright. We're on the same level as the Hall of the Brumelmark, whispers Ikaya, peering through a crack in the kitchen door. It's at the end of this corridor. 2 ice barbarians stand beside the jewel-encrusted doors that lead to the great hall. They are covered from head to toe in strange bone armor and armed with crystal swords. That's a bit of an upgrade. The old wizard steps back from the door and says, "We must deal with them silently and swiftly." He takes 3 jars from his pockets and mutters a strange incantation as he mixes the contents together in a stone bowl. There is a pitcher of water on the table. He splashes a few drops onto the herbs, and wisps of blue smoke arise. "This will silence the guards if we can move it close enough to them." Camouflage, mind over matter, hunting, I have all of those. If I didn't, man, I'd be hating life. You would have to suck to not have any of those, really. You must have picked some dumb shit. Alright, all of those sound pretty good. Camouflage probably would be normally my go-to here. But I just got mind over matter. That's my new ability, so I'm going to use it just because I can. You draw on all your powers of concentration to levitate the bowl of fuming herbs and send it hovering along the corridor. You bring it to rest in the shadow of the pilaster and watch its effects with great curiosity, for in less than a minute, the ice barbarian guards have collapsed to the floor. "Now's our chance!" whispers Ikaya, and he ushers you out of the kitchen. You approach the hall of the Brumelmark undetected, and discover that one of the magnificent jeweled doors is unlocked. Drawing your weapon, you gently push the door ajar and enter Vonotar's chamber. Oh, we're going into the chamber of the bad guy that we're here for. This is feeling kind of like we could be coming up on a climax here. The Hall of the Brumelmark is a vast chamber constructed of crystal blocks rising to a central plateau. On this stands the Brumelmark throne, as old as Ikaya itself. There, Vonotar sits, surrounded by the tomes and eldritch trappings of a necromancer. He is wrapped in study and does not see you enter the hall. He remains oblivious to your presence until Ikaya sneezes.
Who dares disturb me?
he hisses, rising from the Brumelmark throne, his eyes searching for an intruder. Upon seeing you, he emits a horrified gasp and fumbles for his black staff. Yeah, remember me, motherfucker? We met before. Last I saw you, you were running away in terror. He has the look of a criminal who has been discovered in the act of some dreadful crime. Quickly, you raise your weapon and begin to climb the crystal pyramid. You know that you have little time to reach him if you were to overpower and capture him alive. Oh yeah, I forgot, I gotta capture him alive. That's unfortunate. You reach the edge of the plateau in time to see a wide circle of blocks descending around the throne. Between you and Vonotar, a deep moat is forming. Then from the depths of the moat, you hear a ghastly, inhuman gibbering. You brace yourself for combat, but are totally unprepared for the horror that now faces you. From out of the dark slithers a huge, ghoulish green monster. Its deformed head is a mass of tentacles and suckers that ooze a putrid black slime. At the center of this writhing mass, a hideous yellow eye pulsates. Vonotar has control over this monster, and he is directing it towards you. That thing looks fucking nasty. That is no bueno. Crazy Cthulhu tentacle weird beast. Alright. If you possess an effigy, I do not possess an effigy. I do possess the Somber Sword, though, which is also known as Absolute Ass-Kicking Sword. If you don't have either above, you probably just die. I get to heal myself one on this section. The tentacled horror rises from the moat and attacks you. You glimpse Vonotar raising his black staff and fixing his gaze towards Loy Kaimar. He is attacking the old magician with his mind force. You realize that if Loy Kaimar is killed, the secret of the guild staff will die with him. Oh yeah, if he's killed, I don't get a free teleport out of here. Before you can do anything else, you must fight the monster to the death. This is an Akra Neonor. One of the undead. Oh, he's undead? Whatever then. This will be easy. Remember to double all endurance points lost by this enemy during the combat due to the power of the Somber Sword. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has higher combat skill and endurance than anything I've fought, but he's undead, so it's really like he has half that endurance. Oh, but I gotta do it in 5 rounds or less, or else if it takes longer, then dude probably dies, and then you're screwed. Okay, so let's go to battle. I'm glad it's undead, though. This would be a pain in the ass if it wasn't. It has a ×2 EP loss multiplier. Let's do this. Round 1. It lost 20 health in the first round, and I lost none. Come on, son. I got this. I lost 4, it lost 8. Round 3. I lost 2, it lost a shitload. Like 16. This round it should die. I lost none and it died. And that was in the 4th round that happened. So I win, and it was in 5 rounds or less. Thank you for playing. Give myself one on this section. As the vile Akra Neonor quivers and dies, Vonotar breaks off mind combat and runs back toward the Brumelmark throne. Loy Kaimar is badly shaken, but he has survived the ordeal. He quickly joins you at the edge of the moat and casts a handful of herbs down into the darkness. Within seconds, a mass of vines and creepers coil upwards to form a bridge. This guy's helpful. I like this guy. He's handy. He could come with me from now on, really. That'd be okay. You are halfway across the bridge when Vonotar suddenly reappears, a crystal rod held high in his hand. He takes aim at the massive creepers, and a chilling cone of frost hurtles from the rod's tip. I'm concerned about some hurtling frost. Once again, if you have the Somber Sword, win this encounter. If you don't, bad shit happens. Okay. Well, yeah, I have it. You point the summer sword towards Vonotar's crystal rod. In an instant, the cone of frost arcs away from the bridge and shatters against the golden sword. You hear Vonotar curse you as, once again, the power of the summer sword saves you from his destructive magic. Lesson of this story is, do not do Book 3 of Lone Wolf unless you've done Book 2 of Lone Wolf and gotten the summer sword. That's pretty much the moral of the story. Yeah, it saves me once again. That's awesome, thanks. I went through a lot of shit to get that thing. I think I just won.
Your time has come!
Shouts a voice, but it is... Oh. Wrong voice. Your time has come! Shouts a voice, but it is Loy Kaimar and not Vonotar who now speaks. A knot of herbs flies through the air and hits Vonotar squarely in the chest. In an instant, the hunchback wizard is engulfed in a tangle of vines that ensnare him from head to toe. What happened to my music? Did it just stop? Oh, I guess the playlist wasn't on repeat. Music, please. Snared from head to toe, yeah. Loy Kaimar bridges the moat with more creepers and joins you on the platform. Okay, so here's the picture of Vonotar with vines and creepers starting to... And they're knocking his stupid little hat off. See his weird little hat there? And he's dropping all his shit. Wizards hate that. When you make them drop their shit. Be sure to remove his rings and amulets, he says as he busily searches for his guild staff. He is a master of trickery. We would not want him to miss the special homecoming that awaits him in Summerland. You marvel at the old man's composure. After such a desperate fight, he seems completely unruffled. Ah, here she is, he announces triumphantly as he withdraws his guild staff from beneath the Brumelmark throne. You pass him your map of Kalte and point out the location of the Cardinal. I'll not be needing that, he replies a little contemptuously. Maps are invariably wrong. I prefer to rely on my own sense of direction. The old magician raises his staff and a dazzling beam of light shoots from its tip. He makes 3 wide sweeps of the air and the hall of the Brumelmark is transformed into an umbrella of color. Turn to 350. Turn to 350 is what you always know you won, because all of these books have 350 sections, and 350 is always the final one. When it says turn to 350, it basically says you just won the game, son. As the colors fade, you become aware of a sudden drop in temperature. You now stand upon the Liuk ice shelf at a point less than half a mile from where the Cardinal lies at anchor. Loy Kaimar and Vonotar are close by, both shivering in the chill morning air. Within minutes, you are sighted by the ship's lookout, and a longboat is dispatched. As a wriggling Vonotar is hoisted unceremoniously aboard the Cardinal and deposited in the brig, the captain is the first to congratulate you on your skill and daring. But how did you manage to return so quickly? He asks incredulously. We were not expecting you for another 10 days! Let us say, interrupts Loy Kaimar, that the wisdom of the Kai and the lore of the Magicians Guild can surpass the limitations of even time itself. A puzzled expression crosses the captain's face, but it is gradually replaced by a smile as he begins to understand the magician's curious answer. Yeah, the short answer is we teleported, yo. Your journey to Anscaven is swift, but you are saddened by your memories of the brave guides that were left behind. Your arrival in the port is greeted by an anxious crowd. They fear that your early return is a sign of your mission's failure. When the news of Vonotar's capture becomes known, your warrior skills are required once again, this time in the defense of your enemy against the seething mob of outraged Samlending that assault Anscaven Gale. Safe passage is eventually secured to Torin, where trial awaits the traitor. Upon the dawn of the Feast of Maze-Marn, in the depths of the Guild Hall of the Crystal Star, Vonotar the traitor is tried by his Brotherhood and found guilty of his terrible crimes. He is led away in silence to the deepest chamber of the Guild Hall, wherein lies Daziarn, a portal of total darkness, the door of an internal prison from which there can be no escape. There he is, chained, going into the dark portal of Daziarn. A couple of serious-looking guards here, looking at him like, try something. I like how there's a note, like, there can be no escape. Footnote, well, there could be some escape, maybe. Footnote, the portal you throw Vonotar into is known as a Shadow Gate. This particular Shadow Gate leads into the Daziarn, a realm from which no one has ever returned. You are the avenger of his crimes, and it is you who cast the wretched traitor into the limbo of Daziarn. Your mission is now completed. You have survived the Caverns of Kalte and freed Summerland from the menace of Vonotar. But the heat of battle and the challenge of a new and desperate quest awaits you in Book 4 of the Lone Wolf series, entitled The Chasm of Doom. And that is the book we will read next time. That's going to do it for Book 3, The Caverns of Kalte. I've now gone through 3 of these books here on stream and on my YouTube videos. Surprisingly, they take very different amounts of time. Even though each one only has 350 sections, the amount of sections you might have to read through in a given playthrough can be significantly different, and the length of the sections that you actually read through. The first book took me about an hour and a half. And so did this one. This one took me an hour and 40 minutes. But the second book took me 2.5 hours. It took me like an entire other hour besides beyond what the other 2 books took me. So that just shows you how varying it can be depending on what choices you make and how long the sections that you read through are. I took a much more circuitous path, I think, in the second book, whereas I went through things a little more directly in this one and the first one. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Caverns of Kalte. Next time, we'll do Book 4, The Chasm of Doom. I remember that one being pretty cool. And there's 26 of these books to go through, so we won't be done anytime soon. So thanks for watching. This has been Josiah Plays Lone Wolf, Book 3, The Caverns of Kalte.